So I'm Ryan, like Dave said, and I'm here today to talk about growth. And I know you guys have heard already some really smart people talking about growth strategies and tactics, so I'm hoping to take a slightly different perspective on that. And the two things I'm gonna go over today are how to effectively leverage what's unique about your product to find new growth channels and to also better align your product with your existing growth channels. And the goal, hopefully, specifically with this talk, is you come away with at least one idea that you can go back to your team and test. So a little bit about me. What you're looking at here is basically the sum total of all my growth experience. I came on super early at About.me, working on core product before launch, acquiring our first few users, and then all the way through creating these new growth channels and scaling it up. And in January of this year, I left About.me to join Lyft to run the user growth team here. And at Lyft, we generally focus on very much post-product market fit growth initiatives, very much focusing on scale and how to reach scale as fast as possible. So the two products are extremely different, as many of you know, but there's one commonality between the two, and this is specifically relevant for me, and that's I always needed more. I always needed more growth. And what's interesting is that the more growth that you get, generally the more growth that you want. And it's really like a weird drug in a lot of ways. And I'm definitely not addicted to growth. At least that's what I tell my therapist. But this is, yeah. So this is me. What you're looking at is me when things are going well and things are going up and to the right. All of our metrics. And this is one that is like a great feeling to have. And this is a feeling that you want to have, that you want your team to have, that you want your investors and everybody to have. And this is the feeling that you want to shoot for, but the true question is how do you get there? And when you think about growth, especially related to your product, it's all about either A, like focusing on your existing channels and growing through your existing channels, or B, creating new channels. And we're going to go through both, but we're going to start with optimizing your existing channels. And what you're looking at here is three gentlemen trying to push a wagon full of wheels, like with square wheels through the desert. And the reason why I brought this up is because when you're thinking about your existing channels, you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of times it's just thinking about taking in a different approach or better aligning your product with the way people are thinking about your product and the way people use the channel. And just thinking about those things can help you grow and optimize your channels. So one example I wanted to go through was there's three really amazing companies that have had tremendous growth. And one of the things that they've done really effectively and amazingly is they've effectively leveraged and matched their product with the channel. And it's really hard to see here, but what that is two puzzle pieces coming together. And I know a lot of you think about product market fit with your core product and how to get that, and that's incredibly important. And when you get that, you should start thinking also about how well does your existing product fit into the channels you're trying to go through. So I want to give you first example is WhatsApp. Obviously, amazing growth. And one of the things that they've done is align themselves perfectly with SMS. And if you take a look at their most recent version of their iOS app, it basically is a carbon pixel for pixel copy of iMessage. And they did this for a very specific reason. They've merged their WhatsApp contacts with your contacts on your phone. And in doing that, as you message new people and as you come onto the app, it's very difficult to discern if you're messaging an existing WhatsApp user or somebody who's not on WhatsApp, and then you're effectively inviting them into the flow. And through that channel, WhatsApp has had amazing growth and obviously had the Facebook acquisition. The next piece, this probably hits very close to home for Gustav, and this is an example that many people have talked about in the past. But I think one thing that people don't think about with this example is that at the time, Airbnb had all this amazing demand for people looking for apartments, people looking for houses to rent or rooms to rent or couches to surf on. And Craigslist at the time had a lot of people who had those apartments and had those houses, and they were actively looking to rent them. And because of that fit, Airbnb had amazing success of populating the supply on their site with the people from Craigslist. And the reason why it was so effective was because the people on Craigslist had amazing success on Airbnb. And then the last one, which is very much obvious, is Instagram and Facebook. And this is really a match made in heaven, because on Instagram, one of the core values of Instagram is you you're creating these amazing photos. And one of the things that you want after you create your amazing photo is to get as many people to look at it or get your friends to look at. And then on Facebook, on the other side of the coin, they want to look at photos. That's like 90% of the action that happens on Facebook is photos, is looking at photos. So on one hand, when you have one group of people creating this amazing content and they want distribution for it, and on the other hand, we have a bunch of people who want to see this content and they want to consume it, it's a perfect match when you can create a really simple integration between the two platforms. And ultimately, Facebook loved it so much they paid $1 billion for it. So the question is how do you better align your product with your existing channels? And what you want to do, there's 3 steps, and the first one is very obvious, which is to identify your existing channels. And I think on the web, it's very simple. You just go into your analytics and look, and you can see basically where all your traffic's coming from and where your signups are coming from. On mobile, it's a little different. I'm going to talk a little bit about that just to kind of share some thoughts and experiences that I've learned at Lyft, because we're exclusively a mobile product, which is in order to identify your growth channels through the App Store, which creates a massive barrier where you lose the attribution. What we do specifically at Lyft is we create these links, and I won't go too deep into this, but basically we create links that we use for distribution, that we have our users send out, that we send out, that other people generally will send out either through Facebook, Twitter, email, SMS, whatever it may be. And when the person clicks that link, we then redirect them to our server where we snapshot the device, their IP, and potentially like if they're on a wireless network and the time. And then we redirect them into the App Store with the URL parameters. And then after they download and install the app and sign up, we then ping our servers and say, hey, this person signed up, they came from this IP, it's at this time, and we match the two. And that's how we effectively bridge the gap and do attribution through the App Store itself. And that's how we identify our organic growth channels for our mobile product. So the second step is talking to your users. And I think a lot of people here do that on a regular basis when they're thinking about product market fit. But thinking about your existing growth channels, it's also really important to talk to your users to find out, hey, like, why are you sharing this? What was the reason why you invited this person or why you invited your friend? What benefit do you get out of inviting your friends into the product? And some of those learnings that you can get are super important in understanding like the fundamental reasons why people want to share your product, and getting depth of understanding around these like use cases and around the reasons why people are taking these actions is super important when you start to think about building and optimizing your product. And so the whole point is, once you've identified the channel you want to go after, you've done your homework, you've got to have depth of thought and understanding around why people are going through, why people are doing this, then you can take those learnings and apply them to your product. And one interesting, Heaton Shaw here, who's sitting in the front, actually taught me early on about this, which was when you're doing your customer development interviews, one example he gave was like, hey, talk to your users and find out why they're sending these invites. And generally, a pattern will emerge where it's like, hey, I send these invites to my friend. I invite my friends to the product because of X, Y, and Z. And once you see those kind of patterns emerge with a customer development, and in that process, you can then say, hey, you should invite your friends because of X, Y, and Z. And you can, or invite your friends and you'll get X, Y, and Z. And you can actually use the same words that your users have told you in your messaging to get these other users to take the same action. And when you do that, and when you can better align your product with your channels, they become much more effective and everybody wins. So I want to give you guys a quick example. This is probably not what you were expecting when you think of product channel fit, but About.me had amazing success growing through Twitter bios. And this was something that we were not expecting, and I'll walk you through the process, and it relates back to the last 3 steps that we were just talking about. But after we launched About.me in 2010, we started seeing traffic coming in from Twitter, and we were obviously very happy about that because Twitter was at the time just starting to get scale. And we started to deep dive into the traffic, and some of it was coming from shares, which we thought all of it was coming from, but then some of it was coming from people putting About.me in their Twitter bio. And this was massive for us because we were like, hey, this is amazing. We definitely want this. This is like kind of uncharted territory. And so we took the same process we were using to figure out product market fit. We talked to our customers, And basically, this is what we asked, hey, why did you do that? And through the process of that, we found that basically Twitter has a forcing function where they only allow you to put one link. But unfortunately, like probably a lot of people in the room, you have lots of social profiles out there. You have like your GitHub, you have your LinkedIn, you have your Instagram and Facebook, and which one do you put there? Because it's hard, because like if it's a business contact, you want to put your LinkedIn or your GitHub, but if it's like a friend or somebody you want to date, you want to put your Instagram or LinkedIn, and you can't really decide which one because you don't know who that person is coming in to visit your Twitter bio. So what people were doing was saying, hey, I have one link, so I'm going to put about.me in there. I'm going to put about.me as my link. And then the value prop of about.me is we have one link that aggregates all of your information into one place. So what we found was there was this, this aha moment where like kind of our heads exploded, and we were just like, oh my God, this is like amazing, and we're going to be able to grow through this channel. And there was definitely, even though it was very early on, and we still hadn't reached product market fit across all of our use cases, this was one use case that we definitely had product market fit. So we tried to figure out, okay, now what? Now how do we grow this as fast as possible and get as much distribution as possible through that channel? And the first thing you want to think about when you're starting to optimize your product around a channel is like the use case frequency of your product. If you have a product that's high frequency use case, like for example, Instagram or WhatsApp, you can put your calls to action to get through this distribution channel like at the end of the golden path of somebody using your product, or anywhere. For WhatsApp example, they have it in the middle of their navigation flow. But with about.me, we realized that we had a relatively low frequency product, low frequency use. So if many of you have pages here, but how many of you have been back recently, right? So it's one of the products that you can kind of set it up once and it'll work for you over time, but you don't necessarily have to go back for. So we realized that we had to put our calls to action at the very top of the funnel. And we tested a lot of different variations with this, but ultimately the thing that worked best for us was when we was in the process of creating your about.me page, we would add your about.me link to your Twitter bio. And that was ultimately what allowed us to grow. And then on top of that, eventually as we started to optimize it, we would test like Twitter-specific messages from traffic coming from Twitter, and Twitter sign-in for people who are coming from Twitter. But that only gave us like incremental bumps onto like this existing product that was growing itself. So that was an example of A, identifying your channel, which for about.me was the Twitter bio. B, 2, doing your homework, talking to users. This is where we found out that there was product market fit. And then C, or 3, integrating into the product, which is how we did in the onboarding flow. So going through that process is like a very basic framework for how you can better align your product with the channels you're trying to grow through. So the next piece is around new channels. And I mentioned earlier about how with your existing channels, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. But with new channels, you actually do want to reinvent the wheel. And I know that can sound kind of daunting or difficult at times, but one thing that you want to remember is that each of your use cases is unique. Each of your products is extremely different. Even if it's the same use case, like how Dave was talking about Lyft and Uber, how we have very similar use cases, but our products and the way people feel and think about it are very unique. And those differences and what makes your product unique is actually what creates the opportunity for you to create these new growth channels. It's super important. And I'll just talk quickly about Lyft. At Lyft, we skew very young. We're very popular amongst college students, amongst younger people. And what we realized early on was that, hey, these people have lots of friends. They're very social, younger people, and they travel together. They travel in packs. So we did an impromptu survey and found that over 1/3 of our rides had more than one passenger in it. And we realized, we were like, wow, that has to be a massive opportunity, because not all of those extra passengers are already signed up for Lyft. And especially in these new markets that we're going into, in San Francisco, it's less so because more people have heard about Lyft and are using Lyft actively. But in these new markets, it's very much land grab type situation. So we saw this opportunity, and we realized that, hey, if you're riding with your friend, we need to do something, or we need to create an incentive for you specifically to go and get your friend to sign up for Lyft right on the spot. So a few weeks ago, we launched this new program called Free with Friends. I don't know if some of you have seen this before, but basically we created this so like when you request a Lyft, we give you a code for that ride. If you can get your friend to download, install, sign up, put in your credit card, and enter that code before the ride is over, the ride becomes free. So we effectively created this like weird incentive for people to talk about Lyft with their friends and get them to sign up right on the spot, and it's been massively successful for us. We've always wanted to grow through this new channel of, we realized people were with their friends and riding with their friends, and this created the incentive for people to do so, and the distribution mechanism that we had put it in people's face often, so it ended up being a really great channel. And this was an example of how you can leverage what's unique about your product to create these new channels. So here's another one. This one is from Uber called Split Your Fare. And I think probably a lot of you have used this before, but Uber probably early on realized something similar was happening with their use case, where they had your coworkers or your friends riding along with you who were already signed up with Uber. And what you could do is, they wanted to share that ride and to also share the cost of that ride. So they came up with this feature which is extremely smart, so which allows you to split your fare. And what's beautiful about this is that it not only decreases the cost of the ride, which is great for everybody here and all the passengers, but it also has it created a unique distribution channel for them to grow through, because you're not just splitting the ride. If you're splitting the ride with somebody who's not an Uber user, then you can invite them directly to the service, and then you can bring them in, and that grows the user base. So a very effective channel for them. And this is, and I snapped this photo last night. I don't know if you guys can read that or not, but even Coke is getting into the action. It's a shared Diet Coke with a friend. So they realize their use case, people enjoy Cokes in social situations, so they're even jumping on the bandwagon, trying to get everybody to share their Coke with a friend, get new people trying Coke, or getting existing people who've turned out to drink Coke again. And this last example is me trying to share one of my designs with another coworker. And this is from Dropbox. And Dropbox probably realized early on that their service wasn't just about syncing files and designs or music between devices. It's about more than that. It's about collaborating with your friends and colleagues. So what they did here was you can easily then share this image or share this file with somebody who's on or not on Dropbox by simply entering their email. And this has created an amazing way to both engage and collaborate with your coworkers or friends, but then B, to create an amazing distribution channel for them to get new users in, signing up, and experiencing the core value of their product. Okay, so I went through some examples, and I want to do a quick thought exercise with the group here. And I've done this with my team, and it's been extremely successful, so I want to try it here with you guys. So I know that you guys have had stressful days, so I want everybody to take a deep breath, clear your mind, and think about your core use case, your product. Now imagine somebody, one of your best users, going through your golden path flow. Think about them. They're smiling, they're loving your product, they're signing in, going through. And now, so once you have that in your mind, where are the places where this user can interact with somebody who's not using your service currently? Where's the opportunity for that person to interact with somebody who's not on the service? And now that you have that in your mind, think about what are the mechanics for this user who's using your service to then interact with that person. Is it an email, an SMS, a Facebook share, a direct message between the two users? And then after that, what are the benefits that each person gets on each side from using the product? What is the benefit of the user who's inviting this person or communicating with them? What is the benefit for the person who's on the receiving end? And how can you align those two things? And that's ultimately one of the best ways for you to think about getting new users and creating new channels, is to really take a step back and look at your use case and figure out where there's opportunities for new people for your existing users to interact with non-users. And I'll leave you guys with this question, and this is a question that I ask my team regularly at Lyft and About.me in the past, and then I talk to my friends about whoever wants to talk about growth with me. This is one of the questions I always ask, is how does your product get better with each friend or coworker who joins? And actually this is one commonality between all the examples that I gave through this whole thing, which was like, each one of those examples, with each new person that came onto the system, the product got better for everybody. And if you can answer that, then you're on to new channels, and you're going to definitely get more growth through your product. Well, that's it.